I look like hot garbage, warmed over, that's okay. There's this small thrill anytime when I'm watching a television series or a movie or listening to or reading a book and they say, the thing. You know what I'm talking about? The thing, the title. I mean, there's artistry on how you do this, and you can't just ham-fist it in. It's got to feel natural. It's got to feel earned. It's got to feel nice. And that is what happened in the first book I finished for 2024, Remarkably Bright Creatures. This is a spoiler-free review of Remarkably Bright Creatures, which was written by Shelby Van Pelt and was released in May of 2022. It was one of those beautiful cover books that beckoned to me from the Target shelves, but I just never bought. I had so much to read and so much to do, and I kept putting it off, and I thought, okay, well, I'll get it from the library. I didn't, but I did eventually scoop up an audiobook copy of it, and there it sat languishing on my digital shelf until 2023, when my husband listened to it. He turns to me one day and he says, I think you'd really like this book. Yeah, I know. That's why I bought it. But when am I going to listen to it? I'm so busy. It turns out when I finished A Stitch in Time, I had 15 to 20 minutes every morning after I dropped my kids off at school, and then 45 to 50 minutes on the drive home from work every day. The gist of the narrative circles around not one, not two, but 3 main characters. You have Tova, who is a 70-year-old woman dealing with the loss of her husband 2 years prior and the loss of her son 30 years before that. You have Cameron, a grown man who's looking for the remnants of a family he's never known after being raised by his aunt. And then you have Marcellus. Marcellus is a giant Pacific octopus, and he is 8 hands down the best part of this story. The audiobook has amazing narration from Maren Ireland, who does distinct, wonderful voices throughout. It was very easy for me to keep the characters straight because they didn't all sound the same. Then you have Marcellus's chapters, and when Marcellus takes over, you have Michael Urie putting on the most pretentious, the most demeaning voice, and it's just like a soft, wonderful blanket around my heart. I love it. There's a small cavalcade of gossiping yet supportive friends for Tova. She works at the aquarium where Marcellus's exhibit is, and along with cleaning, she has to deal with his nightly escapades and excursions around the place. And while that might, add a bit to the humor, it's not until Cameron's story becomes clear that things really get rolling. I will say, Cameron at the beginning was kind of one of the more off-putting features of this story. His disparate story begins in a completely different state, and you don't 100% understand his role in everything right away. Plus, he's such a whiny man-child, complaining and blaming everyone and everything else for his problems. When you don't know that there's going to be a character so deeply involved in this book like that, it was hard for me to deal with at first. When you read the blurbs about this book, they make you think it's just about Tova and Marcellus and their relationship. But Cameron is an integral part of the story, despite his profanity-laced tirades and wanting to he just blames. He blames so many other people, even when he knows things are his fault. Now, the themes of the story are loss, grief, acceptance, found family, friendship. Now, I did guess the whole conceit of the book about 30% into the story, which the more I've thought about this, I really think is purposeful. By looping you in on everything, it just makes you want to finish the story all the more. You want to see how these things are revealed, how all the pieces come together, how the characters are going to fit into each other's lives. Now, of course, it's clear Marcellus is going to be the linchpin to this whole thing and how everything is going to fall into place. But however, Shelby Van Pelt really knows how to push that climax right toward the very end. And I think that's another thing that makes this so satisfying. you're just screaming at your book or your speakers or whatever it is, however you're consuming the story. Why can't you guys just figure this out? Ooh, I shouldn't clap like that. It's all so obvious. Just be happy. Be happy already. And don't worry, you get a wonderful, comforting ending by the end. That's redundant. And perhaps that's what's so clever about this book. It makes you feel just as smart as Marcellus. It makes you feel like a remarkably bright creature. I did the thing. Thank you so much for joining me today. Do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. You can hit the notification bells to see whenever I upload. I'm trying to shoot for every Tuesday and Thursday in 2024. Let's hope that that happens. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.